Let's go across to what's been NDTV's continuing investigation into the Colgate scam. Srinivasan Jain and Alok Pandey join us. And Srinivasan, I think tonight the big focus is on interesting coincidences really, as we've seen the transition of powerful bureaucrats in key ministries like coal and power and what their post-retirement jobs are. More on that to you, Srinivasan.
That's right, Sonia. We'll have Alok Pandey sharing those details with us in just a second. But also, the other big interesting coincidence that worth focusing on tonight is the fact that just around the time when Colgate and the whole question of the problems of discretionary powers and the allocation of mineral resources has taken center stage, you have a situation in Goa where the Shah Commission report first broken here on NDTV, which pointed out serious violations in illegal mining in Goa, has actually led to the Goa government taking the very strong, some would say extreme step of closing down all the mines in Goa and saying we'll only reopen them on a case-by-case basis. And also, as we've been reporting, FIRs or the threat of FIRs against two ex-chief ministers. Now, the question many asking is this a political decision by Manohar Parrikar, who's heading a BJP government in Goa, or is there also an element of merit here? And I think very quickly, just to break it into two parts, I think there are serious questions about the manner in which cronies and political front companies have been allotted mines in Goa, which bears very striking similarities to the coal allocations. The only question is that since the mines in Goa are operational, is shutting them down in a blanket manner the best way of trying to remedy the problem there? Remember, in Colgate, the only difference is none of those mines are operational. None of the coal blocks have actually been mined. So what the government is doing is going case by case before they decide which ones to deallocate or not. And perhaps some might argue that's a more nuanced way of doing it. But leading on to the other emerging dimension of the coal controversy, Alok Pandey has been tracking this. And as you mentioned, Sonia, that there seems to be a pattern, almost a disturbing pattern of senior government officials who are involved in the coal allocation process, who seem to become high-ranking officials in the very companies which have been beneficiaries of that. Alok Pandey, can you share more details with us?
Well, yes, very quickly to run you through the four names that we have been researching on through the day. The first, of course, is R.V. Shahi. Now, he is India's longest-serving Power Secretary. He was the Power Secretary between 2002 and 2007. Mr. Shahi is now an independent director, among other areas of interest that he pursues now, at the Jindal Steel and Power Limited. Now, this is headed by Naveen Jindal and is a part of the OP Jindal Group. Between 2002 and 2007, when Shahi was the Power Secretary, 2 coal blocks for power were allocated to 2 other companies within the OP Jindal Group. Now, these companies did not have anything to do with Naveen Jindal as such, but they are headed by Naveen Jindal's brothers, and they are separate business entities. Now, as Power Secretary, Shahi's ministry would have been part of the screening committee that decided coal block allocations to these companies, but in their defense, both Naveen Jindal and Shahi say that there was no way in which they influenced these allocations and they were fair and transparent allocations. That's number one. Number two is P.P. Sharma. His case is very, very interesting. This gentleman was the Chief Secretary of Jharkhand between December 2004 to March 2008. He was removed in between, but he came back. So in these 3-4 years, he was the Chief Secretary of Jharkhand. Now he is a full-time director with the Abhijit Group. The Abhijit Group has power projects in Jharkhand, Maharashtra, Bihar and West Bengal, and has also got coal blocks. During Mr. Sharma's tenure as the Jharkhand Chief Secretary, the same group with which Mr. Sharma is employed right now, Abhijit Group, it was allocated as many as 5 coal blocks, both for steel and for power. Now you would perhaps ask, what does the state government has to do when the coal screening committee at the centre allocates these blocks? The state government's advice is essential in any allocation of these coal blocks, and in fact the state government's view is sought on the companies that have applied for coal blocks, and state government officials are on the screening committee that make the final decision. Very quickly, the third person who we are talking about is Mr. N.C. Jha. He is right now the chairman, the CEO in fact, of the mining business of the Monet Energy and Ispat Limited, which is the second largest coal-based sponge iron manufacturer in this country. He was the acting chairman of Coal India Limited in 2011, and for many years prior to that, he was the director technical at Coal India Limited. Now, on the screening committee that decides these coal block allocations, the representative from Coal India Limited, as per the Coal Ministry website, is the director technical of Coal India Limited. The fourth person we are talking about is Mr. S.K. Rungta. Mr. Rungta is a former SAIL, Steel Authority of India Limited chairperson. He headed SAIL for many, many years. Now he is a full-time managing director with Vedanta Aluminium. Now Vedanta, of course, has captive power plants in Orissa and is also running a greenfield aluminium refinery in Orissa.
Alok, that's absolutely fascinating information. Joining the dots then, Srinivasan, I think really when we've been looking at this whole nexus, because so much of this is not, you can't actually prove that anything criminal has been done, but it's really when you join the dots that this nexus or these links seem to be so questionable.
That's right, Sonia. We've been saying from the beginning that this is an all-party scam and we've been largely focusing on the politicians. But the fact is that to get a coal block allotted in violation of the guidelines, you have to have almost everybody on board. You need to have the central government on board. You need to have the individual ministries like the steel, the power and the cement ministries. You also need to have the state governments on board. You need to have coal utilities on board. So essentially, it's a coming together of all these stakeholders at that screening committee meeting where these mines are allotted. Now clearly, because those meetings are so opaque and we've gone through their minutes to find that they don't record why a particular company was allotted or not, clearly this pattern seems to suggest the lengths to which these companies, all those behind these companies, went to ensure that everybody was on board, whether it was politicians, whether it was central ministers, and now, as Alok is pointing out, bureaucrats as well.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.